Meta was supposed to shake the AI world this month, but instead of launching the largest model they've ever built, they hit pause. And not just a small pause, the kind where you say, wait till June, but a full, deliberate delay that pushes their prized model, codenamed Behemoth, to the fall, or possibly even later. For a company that's been chasing relevance in the AI space ever since OpenAI and Google started dominating the narrative, this move wasn't just unexpected, it was revealing. Behemoth, also known as Llama 4 behind the scenes, was meant to be Meta's answer to GPT-4 and Gemini Ultra. It's their biggest model yet. Billions of parameters bigger, trained on more data, with more compute thrown at it than any previous Meta effort. And yet, according to inside reports, the delay wasn't about bugs or infrastructure or rollout complications. It was about underwhelming results. Put bluntly, Meta's AI model, despite being enormous, just wasn't that impressive. And that raises a much bigger question, not just for Meta, but for the entire AI industry. Have we hit the ceiling on size? Have we finally reached the point where making models bigger doesn't automatically make them smarter? Let's dig into what's actually going on here. First, some context. Meta's AI research division has always flown a little under the radar. Unlike OpenAI, which courts the public with splashy ChatGPT updates, or Google DeepMind, which leaks breakthroughs like it's a Marvel studio, Meta's releases are quieter, technical, more focused on open source. And until recently, that was their angle. Open models for the research community, not just commercial dominance. But things changed after GPT-4 dropped. Suddenly, Meta didn't want to just be the academic counterpoint. They wanted to compete. Llama 2 was a solid step forward. It was faster, leaner, and good enough for developers to build with. But it wasn't revolutionary. Llama 3 was supposed to change that, and to an extent it did. But it still lagged behind the GPTs of the world in coherence, reasoning, and high-stakes use cases. So Meta went all in on Behemoth. Internally, the project was hyped up as the company's most ambitious model ever. Rumors swirled that it would exceed 500 billion parameters, putting it in the same weight class as GPT-4 Turbo and Gemini Ultra. It was trained on multilingual data, a wider range of formats, and supposed to be more human in tone and response style. Llamacon, Meta's AI developer event, was positioned to be Behemoth's big coming out party. But when the conference came and went without even a demo of the model, people started asking questions. Then came the reschedule to June. Now the quiet pivot to later this year. Behind closed doors, sources say the model just isn't that impressive. It's big, yes, but bigger doesn't mean better anymore. In some tests, it only marginally outperformed Llama 3. In others, it performed worse. Not because it was broken, but because we may be running into the problem that no one in AI wants to say out loud. We're starting to see diminishing returns. For years, the race in AI has been about scaling. More data, more compute, more parameters. The theory was, if you just keep adding mass, the model will become more powerful. And to be fair, that worked, until it didn't. GPT-3 was a breakthrough. GPT-4, even more so. But the jump from GPT-4 to models like Claude 3 or Gemini Ultra hasn't been as dramatic. Yes, they're better. Yes, they reason more smoothly and hallucinate a little less. But we're not seeing a leap in intelligence. We're seeing incremental improvement at exponentially higher cost. And that's where Meta's Behemoth ran into trouble. They scaled up, they spent the compute, but they didn't get the magic. Now let's be clear, this isn't a failure. It's just a signal, a very loud one. It tells us that the future of AI might not be about stacking more parameters. It might be about changing how we train, how we fine-tune, how we align models with human goals, or even how we integrate smaller, specialized models together. Some in the AI community are calling this the plateau moment, where brute force isn't enough anymore, where we actually need to rethink what we're doing, not just keep doing it harder. For Meta, the delay is a strategic one. They could have released Behemoth now, slapped a few press releases on it, called it the most open large model in the world. But that's not the game anymore. Releasing a big model that's only okay isn't a flex, it's a liability, especially when your competition is dropping agents, apps, and multimodal capabilities that feel borderline magical. So Meta is regrouping. Some say they're retraining parts of Behemoth from scratch. Others say they're experimenting with MOE, a mixture of experts, architecture, which is more efficient and modular. A few insiders even claim Meta might break Behemoth into multiple smaller models that work together, kind of like a hive mind. All of this underscores a big shift in the AI industry right now. We're moving from big model equals good model to smart model equals useful model. And sometimes smarter doesn't mean bigger. It means better data, better supervision, better guardrails, and maybe even better ethics. Because let's be honest, these models aren't just science projects anymore. Their infrastructure. They're being used in hiring, in healthcare, in education, in government. If they're not safe, reliable, or transparent, the damage is real. It's not just a bad chatbot experience, it's people getting misinformation, or losing opportunities, or getting manipulated. So Meta pausing Behemoth, that might actually be the responsible thing to do. It's not just a delay, it's a reset. A chance to ask, what are we building and why? Of course, some will say this is just Meta being Meta, overpromising, underdelivering, trying to catch up to OpenAI and Anthropic and falling short. But that's a little too simple. Meta is one of the few companies still committed to open source AI at scale. They publish their research. They release models that other people can build on, and they've helped democratize access in ways that a lot of closed shops haven't. If they're struggling to scale up without quality loss, that should concern everyone, because it means the easy part of AI, the scale game, is over. And now we're in the hard part, the actual intelligence problem. How do you make a model that's not just bigger, but better at thinking, better at judgment, more aligned with human values? And how do you do it in a way that's affordable, sustainable, and safe? These are the questions that Meta and everyone else in this space now have to answer. So what happens next? Behemoth isn't dead. It's just cooking longer. Fall 2025 is the new estimate, but that could shift. If Meta does pull it off and the model is genuinely smarter, not just larger, it could change the narrative. But if not, it might mark the end of the massive model era for good. In the meantime, expect to see more work from Meta on smaller models, open tools, and AI infrastructure. And don't be surprised if other companies start delaying their own releases too, because no one wants to drop a flop in the middle of an AI arms race. We're officially entering the next chapter, where quality matters more than quantity, where big tech is forced to think a little smaller and a lot smarter. And maybe, just maybe, where AI stops being about who has the biggest model and starts being about who builds the most human one.